Hi, welcome from Hyde Park, New York. I am in Hyde Park, which is the home of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Here there are a number of stuff to do. I've always wanted to come up here. I don't have a lot of time. I'm actually driving further up north and decided to stop here. I'm at the National Historic Site for Franklin Delano Roosevelt. What you have here is you can tour his childhood home, and there's also the Presidential Library. And if you've ever watched my videos before, I've talked about presidential libraries. I've gone to I'm trying to think. I think four. Fifth one if you count in Grand Rapids when I couldn't get into the Gerald Ford when I was on the outside. But so I've always Franklin Delano Roosevelt is one of my favorite presidents. Our cat is named Frankie after him, and I've always wanted to come here. So I'm really excited to be here and check out the Presidential Library. There's a ton of stuff to do in Hyde Park. Like I said, I'm not staying here, but we've thought about just coming out for the weekend. So they have the Presidential Library, they have the childhood home of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, they have the home of Eleanor Roosevelt, which is a National Historic Site, they have the Vanderbilt Mansion, and then there's also the Culinary Institute of America here, and that's just in Hyde Park. So there's a ton of stuff to do in this area. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do the tour today of FDR's home. I definitely want to do the Presidential Library though, and maybe I will stop on my way back from further up north as well. So I'm gonna take you along with me when I check it out. Welcome to the Addams Family Travelers. Join us as we use our vacation days to travel around as much as we can and enjoy exploring the world. Make sure you join us on our adventures. So I just went into the visitor center, and you can pay for the home tour, which is $15, and the library, which is also $15 there. And they had a tour available in about an hour and a half of the house, and they said you can go in and out of the library. So the house tour lasts 45 minutes, and then so I'll probably have, or I have an hour. So I'll have an hour in the museum, and then I'll do the home tour, and then I'll go back to the museum. So I just decided to do both since I'm here. I think it'll be really cool. So I'm gonna go head towards the library. It's also really pretty here. The library's in a separate building you walk to, and then you meet for the tour in the stables, and there's also a garden. Just some more history on this presidential library. Franklin Delano Roosevelt's presidential library was the very first presidential library. They built it in 1944, I believe, while he was still in office, but obviously he was during his third or fourth term at that point. So he had been president for a while. But now he's the only, I think, library that was built while he was still a sitting president. Everyone else's is built after they leave office. But now it has become a tradition since FDR to, I think every president after that has had a presidential library. Most of them are on college campuses. This one is at his home site. Obviously, it's the first one. And also, Franklin and Eleanor are buried on site here at the Presidential Library, so I will go find their tombs after. That would be pretty neat to see. So the first exhibit was a special exhibit called Special Moments. It shows a bunch of famous people and famous letters sent to Theodore and Eleanor Roosevelt. There's Hollywood actors, there's scientists, there's writers, military personnel, other politicians around the world like Gandhi, people like Dr. Martin Luther King. Just very interesting to read all these letters and see all the correspondence that the Roosevelts received. The library exhibits started, the museum exhibits started with the Great Depression and then his election, and now it's then going to go to his early rising. I guess just set the picture of how he got elected to president. Then we're going to go into his early life. So I'm heading over to the stables now. So the second room area I was in was about Eleanor and Franklin's childhood. Eleanor was the niece of Theodore Roosevelt. So there was, when the Roosevelts came over here, like to New York in this, I think it was the 1600s, they split into two kind of factions. There was the Roosevelts in Long Island, and then the Roosevelts in Hyde Park. So Eleanor was of the Long Island faction, and Franklin was of the Hyde Park faction. They were fifth cousins once removed. So it was interesting about their, learning about their upbringing. And then there was information about when FDR contracted polio and became paralyzed. And then I think it's going to start his political career. I'm heading over to the stables right now to go do the house tour. So before the tour, I checked out the stables, and then I'm in a little exhibit they have on FDR and disability. So this is the view from the back of FDR's house. The tour is really neat. I definitely recommend it. The tour guide at the park ranger was fantastic. We get to see, basically, FDR decided that he wanted to leave this house to the people upon his death, or when he would leave presidency. So when he died in 1945, the house, as it was left to the people. Eleanor basically ended up staying in her retreat. Valk Hill was just down the road, and you can visit. But this house was left to the people. You can see heirlooms in there. The rooms are how they were. You can see how that FDR had constructed a ramp to get down. There was a pulley elevator where he would use to pull himself up to the room. You could see his birth, where the room where he was born, and the room, his boyhood room, and then his master bedroom with Eleanor. Very cool. It's preserved very well. This house was, the center of the house was in the 1800s, and then they added the sides onto it in 1915. And then there's also a guest room where King George VI stayed, and also Winston Churchill. FDR came back to this home often and would welcome dignitaries here. This was like his retreat from the presidency. So very cool. I definitely recommend that. Very neat to see. I felt like I was standing in history. And the view here up the Hudson Valley from the back of the house is definitely gorgeous. So I was just able to see the tomb of Franklin Roosevelt and Eleanor Roosevelt, and he designed the tomb himself. He was kind of like an amateur architect. He designed a lot of the modifications to the house himself, which is very cool. And essentially, wrong way. Going back to the library, but there's also a rose garden there, which the roses haven't quite bloomed yet, but Roosevelt meant field of roses. So roses were on there. It was a symbol for their family, and you know, I'm sure it's beautiful in the summer. Just needs to see the president's final resting place. The first grave in front of the tomb is his, and then the second grave is Eleanor's. She died 17 years after him. The tour took an hour. I definitely think it was worth the $15. Definitely pretty cool. And then I'm gonna go finish up the library. I still have a good bit left. I've already been here for 2 hours, which is crazy. So I'm gonna do that. This museum was really great. When I went back in, it talked about his election to New York governor, and then went through his first 2 elections and the New Deal. So then went through the whole war, our isolationism, and then our joining the war after Pearl Harbor. And then in there, he, you know, his 3rd and 4th election, all his wartime efforts, fireside chats, and then his death, and then also an exhibit on Eleanor and her continued activism after FDR's death. So very well done. I spent about 2 hours in there. Probably could have even spent a little bit more. I'm gonna head to the visitor center now and go in the gift shop. But I think total I've spent about 3 hours between the house and the presidential library. So I definitely recommend coming here. So I had a great time at the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Historic Site. There's so much else to do here at Hyde Park, and I hope to visit those things someday. But thank you for watching and joining along as I toured the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Presidential Library and home, Springwood. I really think this is a must-do. It's fantastic. You learn so much about our president who sat for 4 terms. I mean, he was elected for 4 terms. So, and during World War II, one of our most important presidents, and New Deal programs are still in existence today. So thank you for watching.